What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, revealing official information. And it's a big one. Bungie reveals some really interesting info about PvP, Trials of Osiris, and the Master King's Fall. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, this video is sponsored by Raycon and their everyday earbuds. Now here's the thing, it doesn't matter how good your earbud is if it's falling out of your ears. That's why Raycon comes with customizable gel inserts so you get the perfect fit every time. Now we've tested this in a fit of gamer rage. Who makes this dog water game? This game's dog water, the developers thinking about this. Even had my wife smack me in the side of the head. Do it again. And these things wouldn't fall out, so I can't even think of another test to prove it to you guys.
Maybe we can kick you in the head.
They also have 8 hours of playtime with a 32-hour battery life, and they're super feature-rich. They have touch functionality, they have an isolation mode to focus on the music, or an awareness mode if you're out and about jogging and want to hear your surroundings. And let's be honest, guys, you're gonna leave these in your pants and put them through the washing machine at least once. Well, they're sweat and water resistant. They're built to handle situations exactly like that, so it won't ruin them. So definitely, guys, click the link in the description down below or go to buyraycon.com/Kakis for 15% off your purchase. They're super affordable, so if you've ever wondered if earbuds are right for you, try them out. Alright, now first things first, what is going on this week in Destiny 2? Well, we have a continuation for the weekly seasonal story quest, we have 2 new Pirates Crew upgrades ready to get, and most importantly, guys, tomorrow we have the launch of the first Trials of Osiris of Season of Plunder. And excitingly, there's 2 all-new Trials weapons up for grabs. So to quickly go over them, there's the Whistler's Whim Legendary Kinetic Bow. This thing can actually get kill clip. Kill clip on a bow. Think about that for a sec. You are reloading technically with every single shot, which means you're going to be able to chain kill clip with every single shot. Like, that sounds kind of nutty. Then we also have the Inquisitor Legendary Arc Shotgun. So this is a precision slug frame shotgun. It can get some pretty darn good PvP perks, including, in the first column, perpetual motion, or even something like steady hands. In the second column, it can get fragile focus. I think it's the first slug shotgun that can get fragile focus for a huge amount of range, or just opening shot, or even harmony. So PvP slug shotgun enthusiasts, this may be an option for you. But moving on from there, guys, let's get to the brand new information within the TWAB. And the first thing Bungie actually talks about is online game security, preventing cheaters and so on. In fact, they talk about how BattlEye has been such a success in the grand scheme of things preventing cheaters that people are having to find new ways to do so. In fact, they actually mention having burner accounts to go cheat in endgame activities like trials and not using your main account to avoid bans, and they're trying to detect these sort of things. The most interesting part was this X script. So they said after building their model, we carefully tracked and accounted for the changes introduced by each game release, analyzed known bugs for likely impact, and assessed sandbox changes. We did all of this to minimize the risk of false positives. Beyond these initial precautions, we set very generous thresholds so that nobody would be banned for having cosmic rays strike their computer and flip an errant bit. After all of that, if there were any borderline cases, we used some signatures that indicate the presence of certain cheats on the user's computer, and this resulted in one of the largest ban waves in our history. So again, it does seem that BattlEye, for the most part, and the anti-cheat measures are definitely working to at least some degree. That's not to say there's no cheaters, but this is good news. Moving on from there, however, guys, Bungie talks about Iron Banner, right? We had Iron Banner last week, and it was the first time that the Eruption game mode was ever premiered within the game. And honestly, most people, when talking about this mode, were quite positive. It certainly encourages you to not camp, because if you go on a streak, you're going to have to get a kill within 15 seconds or you'll just die. So people did like the high-paced, offensive playstyle that mode introduced. In fact, Bungie says historically we usually see the most engagement on the first day of the event, followed by a significant drop-off in players until the weekend arrives. But with Eruption, we are seeing a consistent number of players across all days, and even an increase on the weekend, and the number of hours played per player over each subsequent day of the week continues to increase. So, I mean, that's fantastic. Again, a lot of people are very favorable of this mode, so hopefully this is a mode that we can see return in one way or another, even when Iron Banner is done for the season. Because remember, Eruption is only going to be on Iron Banner for this season, and then next season, season 19, it's going to be something different. However, moving on from there, Bungie talks about matchmaking changes and the quitter penalty. This is something else that happened this week that caused a ton of controversy within the community. Now, Bungie first talks about matchmaking times and skill, and they say on average, matchmaking times for control have only increased by about 10 to 15 seconds. But on average, however, the matchmaking times for the players on the extreme end of the skill curve have doubled, or more than doubled, and that's pretty brutal. Like, it already takes a couple minutes sometimes to get into a match. Now you're talking about 5-10 minutes waiting around for a single match. Like that's got to be pretty infuriating. They say, as such, we adjusted our configurations so that matchmaking expands to a wider range of skills sooner, thereby finding a match sooner for those players, which again is good. You just because you're good at the game, you shouldn't have to take 10 minutes to get into a match. Moving on from there, in terms of latency, there's also been some issues. Obviously, with Bungie prioritizing skill over connection now, it sometimes matches you from someone on another continent just because they have a similar skill. And as a result, Bungie says we were also comfortable tuning the knobs to prioritize latency a bit more. So hopefully now the overall effect, they say, is that players matching in under a minute should see no change in skill of the player or connection quality. Players taking longer than a minute should see increased connection quality, but a slightly wider skill selection of players. And overall, that's good. I'm not gonna have an anti-skill-based matchmaking rant or anything here. I think it has its place, but connection should certainly be, I think, the overall priority. It doesn't matter what your skill level is. If you're matching someone who's lagging around the map, that's just not going to be a fun experience, no matter what skill you are. Moving on from there, again, the thing that set the community on fire, the quitter penalty. So Bungie says, we're aware that there has been an increase in quit rates for certain lobbies, whether due to connection quality or skill of opponents matched, particularly high skill players. While we hope that the above changes alleviate the quitting issue, we would like to actively discourage quitting as it can negatively impact the remaining players. As such, we have added control to the list of activities that can trigger the Crucible suspension system. Note that the suspension timers for control are temporarily shared with competitive, but we are actively working on separating the suspension timer for competitive versus control. So yeah, at the start of the week, if you were to leave a control game, you would get this message saying that you've left a competitive game mode and penalizing you for doing so. If you were to leave more than once, you'd be locked out of matchmaking, just like how it works again in those competitive game modes. Now, the community was a bit divided, with some people saying, hey, just don't quit. Heck, there's quitter penalties for Gambit. Like, you shouldn't be, quitting every game just because you don't like who your opponents are. But a lot of other people saying, this is a social game mode. I'm not taking this that seriously. If I have to go tend to my dog, my kid, whatever, I'm just going to leave and go do that. And now they come back and they're suspended for 30 minutes or whatever it is. So, yeah, people were not happy about this. And then Bungie actually removed this. Very unfortunate they didn't mention any of this stuff within the TWAB. I think maybe this was written a couple days ago and never updated. But as you can see, the quitter penalty was removed pretty quickly, seemingly to also kind of quell people's concerns. Because again, a lot of people were very upset by this. And then it is apparently being re-added on September 17th. So in a couple days here. And we don't know if it's going to be the exact same way it was at the beginning of the week, or perhaps it will be more lenient, like allowing you to quit more games before the lockout takes place, etc. Bungie doesn't mention any of those obvious concerns in the TWAB. I don't know why, but there it is. What do you guys think about this quitter penalty? Are you happy Bungie is punishing people for quitting? Do you think it has no place in such a casual game mode? Let me know in the comment section down below, because certainly people were all over Twitter, rage going each direction. So, moving on from there, speaking of the quitter penalty, guys, you're not crazy. Your friend who swore he always got disjunction, Bungie always put him in disjunction, he's not crazy. Because today, Bungie actually unveiled the map weighting. So how often and how likely you are to load into certain maps in that control playlist. So as you can see right here, guys, increased weighting for Disjunction and Cathedral of Dusk. Then we have full weighting for all these maps. I'll just let you guys pause and read that if you want to. Then we have reduced weighting for these maps, and then significantly reduced weighting for only the Dead Cliffs, and then we have for removed, Anomaly, Cauldron, and Convergence. So, obviously it does somewhat make sense that the two new maps, like both of these came out very recently, would have increased weighting, at least off the get-go. Like, you know, let's put people in those new maps. But it turns out a lot of people hate Disjunction. It's a very, very large map, and so the matches often end up going to time, being somewhat more boring. And I mean, I've seen dozens of videos on Twitter of everyone leaving the match when Disjunction is the map. However, responding to this, Bungie says, outside of one map, obviously Disjunction, we don't see any predictable difference in quit rate between maps. So while we will be making changes to map weighting soon, we don't see this as a major factor in quit rate. I think this is kind of a disingenuous thing to say, because think about what they're saying here. Outside of one map, so if you ignore the biggest problem, yeah, there isn't a problem. That's like if I got shot in the leg and the doctor said, well, outside of that one leg, you're perfectly healthy. Well, the issue here is that one map, the one map that no one likes, that's weighted higher than normal. So of course, that is affecting the quit rate. And that might happen again with a new map introduced down the line, or maybe some other map becomes the most hated map. So I think saying, oh, ignoring the outsiders is not a problem is very much ignoring the problem. Clearly, map weighting and having disjunction more often definitely had an effect on quit rate. Maybe it's not as much as people think, but there was certainly an effect. However, thankfully, as you can see right here in the patch that went live today, they lowered the weighting of Disjunction and Cathedral of Dusk down to the normal, full weighting category. Moving on from there, guys, they said last month we were finally able to share some interesting ways we're breaking the fourth wall here at Bungie, including how you can bean the very best bean you can be. So, Destiny 2 and Fall Guys collaboration, as you can see right here. It's going to deliver a Warlock costume, a Titan costume, a Hunter costume, a spicy ramen celebration, and a Ghost Shell wearable. And that's all going to be happening this weekend, guys. So definitely, if you're a Fall Guys fan, check that out. The game is cute as heck. What can I say? All right, moving on from there, let's talk the Master King's Fall raid. So it's actually going to arrive on September 20th, which is next weekly reset. So next Tuesday, a Master raid is going to arrive. Then there's also going to be raid challenges. So they say that the normal mode raid challenges, it will double the loot for the encounter the challenge is active on. But then for Master, the encounters will reward stat-focused armor. So depending on the week, you'll have resilience focus and recovery focus, and so you can, oh, it's resilience focused, I want resilience gear, I'm going to try to farm the crap out of it on this week, right? Then there's also going to be the fact that challenges will reward adept weapons, and that all encounters are set at a power level of 1600 with the powerful cap of plus 30. So importantly, The main takeaway and good news about this is that we have the start of the raid challenges, and so you have the chance to get double loot. Even if you're just doing normal King's Fall, you can now get the chance at more red weapons is really what people are looking for. Unfortunately, because you can't craft adept weapons, they're outright worse than the normal mode weapons that you can craft, because enhanced perks are better than what adept weapons offer. This same exact issue happened with Vow of the Disciple, with a ton of players giving their feedback on this, and seemingly Bungie has done nothing to address it. So that's very unfortunate. Perhaps if you get an adept weapon that rolls in the perfect god roll that you want, and you value adept range over enhanced perks, I mean, there you go, but aside from the double rewards, which is really the interesting part, Master Raids have been an utter disappointment considering the rewards they offer. Now, moving on from there, we have a much more somber topic with the well-respected and longtime member of the community, Seraphim Crypto, passing away this year. To honor his memory, Bungie actually had their designers create a new community emblem, Seraphim's Gauntlets, to represent his love of Destiny, Titan Gauntlets, and the number 37. So, Bungie says, if you want to join us in honoring our friend, here is the emblem that allows us another opportunity to do just that, and then provides a code that you can redeem on Bungie.net. And once you do that, here is what the emblem looks like in-game. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.